A very good Thursday morning to each and every one of you. Thank you again. It's a privilege and honor to be able to come to you during our devotional time here on I Tune to Him. We are looking all this week at the thought of desperate households. And today's topic is simply called parenting principles. We're going to be reading out of Colossians chapter number 3, just 2 verses, beginning with verse number 20. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing to the Lord. Fathers, do not provoke your children, lest they become discouraged. Here, Paul addresses the relationship between children and parents. You know, kids have a duty to listen and carry out the instructions of parents. In fact, one of the 10 commandments is to honor your father and your mother, which Paul goes on to tell us in Ephesians, I believe, chapter 6, that this is the first commandment with promise. So it will be well with us. And he says, so that we may live a long life. Obedience brings God's pleasure and brings God's promise. And while Paul uses the word father here, the Greek word certainly includes mothers as well. I want to ask you, how could you lead your child to discouragement? I want us to take a few moments this morning and look at that thought. I can assure you that I'm not coming to you today as a perfect spokesman for being a father. For I certainly have my shortcomings, and I'm not a perfect father and a perfect husband. But I believe that God has helped me through the years in observing different families and different situations, and also learning from my mistakes of being a father and being a husband. I want to give you 4 things that if you do these things, you will lead your children to discouragement. Number 1, ignore them. Our kids need our attention. You know what? If we don't give them any time, that will lead to resentment. If they feel unloved and unaccepted, can I tell you today, my friend, they'll find someone that'll meet their needs and someone that will love them and accept them, and it just might be the wrong influence in their life. Number 2, indulge them. What do you mean by that, Pastor? We must be careful to not give everything they want all the time. If we do that, they'll become restless. Over time, they will become unappreciative. And then thirdly, we will spoil them. And that will lead to some problems, certainly, down the road. Number 3, insult them. Let's not be critical of our children. You know, kids are going to make mistakes. In fact, I'm 47 years old and I still make more mistakes than anybody. But if we ridicule them, it'll bring great damage to them. So what should we do, Pastor? We need to build them up. We need to encourage them. And you know what? You can even discipline them, and it can be done without insults. And then 4th and finally, intimidate them. What do I mean by that? Be careful not to threaten them or have unfair expectations of them. I see too many that have self-esteem problems, and their self-confidence and their self-image have been damaged so greatly. And if we do that, if we try to intimidate them with threats and unfair expectations, we'll cause them to be scarred for life. Can I tell you, every child is unique and they're special. Don't intimidate them. I want to conclude our time together today by just asking you a few questions. And what I want you to do is ask yourself these questions. Do I believe my children are a gift from God entrusted to me? Am I enabling my children to become men and women of God that He intends them to be? Do they know how delighted and how excited I am about them? Am I a proper Christian model for them to follow? Am I calling my children to obedience and providing the correct guidance and discipline that they need? I want to tell you something, parents. We have great responsibilities. But you know what? If we lose our households and we lose our children, that's the most detrimental thing that we could ever do. I appreciate so much you allowing me to come to you this morning. You do not want to miss tomorrow. It's going to be a special day on Friday as we conclude our time this week on desperate households. Until then, have a great day.